you can't fall into the many sort of traps that the deck has, right? Of, oh, I can throw this away, or, oh, I think I need to hold on to this. If you don't, we saw a lot of that in the previous series where tons of healing was used and tons of the key cards for the combos were used to actually defend. And I think, lower levels of Hearthstone play, there would have been the mindset of, no, I need to hold on to this to combo them because that's what my deck does. And I think, when we see it played at this kind of level, it really does show how flexible the deck is.
And already some serious greed coming out from Frenetic on that turn, as he decided to throw away, 5 card draws in his opening hand with nothing awkward being in outcast position. He had Chaos Strike, Spectral Sight, all in very nice, happy, playable positions that he could have curved out and played, outcasting them all. And he chose to throw away that entire hand, looking for the tools that can find him Skull of Gul'dan specifically. The skull itself, the Illidari studies, the double jump, right? The tools that can actually tutor that skull, generate that skull, or just the skull itself. So you can see the level of greed that comes with playing Demon Hunter straight away.
I respect it though. It's like opening hand is skull on the left. No, throw it all away.
It's not even like, do I have Incanter's Flow? It's, do I have Incanter's Flow in a specific position in my hand? Yeah.
Here though, Viper just trucking along right now. Nothing too crazy for the moment. Is just getting through that card draw. Does have the font of power to maybe put some minion threats on. I think that is something that Mage can do that piles some pressure onto Demon Hunter, right? If you're not going to have the explosive opening from Mage, then you may as well be throwing minions down at the Demon Hunter and make them have to trade, use some removal, or at least just not spam card draw for the next 5 turns.
Frenetic pulling a face there that I'm intimately familiar with. I will call it the, where is my skull eyebrows? As he was trying to work out exactly whether this was a good or bad position for his Skull of Gul'dan. Never mind talking about strategic decisions in the game of Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft, Raven. That was just Trick Totem into Totemic Reflection. Hello?
All I'm enjoying right now is that clearly Viper's in a better mood today, and I'm glad, because he was chuckling along with that, as we all were, because that is just funny.
Yes. I do think this was a very interesting position for Frenetic to be in here. Going back to talking about the skull, where he was looking at that skull as he drew it, deciding whether that was good or bad for him or not. That was a really strange way of going about the following turn for me, because I respect the idea of going Spectral Sight to try and find Philosophy, which is what I thought he was doing. Because at that point, you can use the Philosophy to move the Moarg, right? You take it from the left-hand side of your hand over to the right-hand side of your hand, and then you can play the one that's on the left and free up the other Spectral Sights and Skulls and so on to be able to draw 2 cards. So it's kind of interesting the fact that after he did that, he continued to Spectral Sight for 1 again, having already hit the Philosophy. I wonder whether that is just -1 card draw over the course of the game, but we will wait and see.
Yep. Let's have a look what's happened here. The AoE coming out. Frenetic, of course, respecting that board, because that, whether it's even technically correct or, someone decided to work it out, or no, Frenetic could have left it up, you just don't want to leave 2 Trick Totems on the board. That is how you lose in the most silly way possible. Get them gone. You play the Moarg there, got it out the way. Now he only has Coin Eye Beam in the way of that skull, which of course are 2 very dumpable cards.
Yes. It's like that classic Life Coach series way back when, I think it was at a DreamHack, where someone randomly generated a Nozdormu against him, and he had to play 2 or 3 turns legitimately with Nozdormu in play. Hated every second of it, and then one turn he just had a Shadow of Death or something in his hand, or a Siphon Soul, or something that killed a Nozdormu, and he just started the turn with it, even though it was completely wrong, just to get rid of the Nozdormu, and then he was like, okay, that's done, now I can resume my Life Coach pose and rope this turn out like a normal human being.
Yeah, it's like, I can't think with all this Nozdormu racket.
No,
somebody turn that off. Pretty interesting minion there with the Crocolis for Viper, right? Because even if it doesn't get looked at this turn from Frenetic, he could just ping it for some extra damage.
True. And yeah, during all that nonsense, Frenetic actually top-decked the Skull from the right and then hit the absolute giganuts with Il'gynoth and the Talented Arcanist both being discounted. Technically, I would say discounting a Moarg is the second best thing after Il'gynoth to discount, but then Talented Arcanist is third overall, I believe. So that is an absurd Skull to be hitting this early in the game.
The Arcanist is the third Giga Nut out of the three. Here, though.
Sounds like you should see a doctor, Raven.
Viper has a couple of options here. And again, that coin is actually probably pretty frustrating for him because he can ring toss, but with coin, it just makes counterspell so much worse because it's not like he's blocking a skull. It's not like anything like that, right? Like, Frenetic can just throw away the coin if he wants and then just have a complete turn regardless.
Yeah, it's going to have to manage hand size a little bit to get to that point, but it's fine. He'll be able to get something done nicely. I think drawing up to 10, as long as he can go coin, I-beam, skull all in the same turn. That's 3 cards being dumped to then pick up 3 more cards. It should be fine.
I actually really like this as well. He gets the Frenzy effect, which is deal 3 to face, but he does it without using the mana, right, for ping, and without wasting it. So he just gets rid of a spell that he was never really going to play against Demon Hunter anyway.
True. Coin hits the Netherwind, double jump can be dropped here, picks up Spectral Sight. So if he goes I-beam Skull from this point, he will draw back up to 10, so he'll have to dump something from his hand with 1 mana available, which should be fine. It should be, very carefully.
I'm glad Frenetic slowed down because it always scares me when Demon Hunter players play quickly. Maybe because I always think it's lethal and I've not thought about it. You know when they just start going boom, boom, but you're like, oh, okay, well, is it just game? Yeah, very tricky.
Immolation Aura was incredibly clutch to pick up there as a discounted card. As I was saying, he was going to have a little bit of difficulty with finding a card to dump, but yeah, Immolation Aura was the dream there.
So there is no flow into Sage this turn, which doesn't look terrible. Again, with Cram Session and Fireball, I think Viper will want to leave that stuff for after the Phoenix is procced. I'm also keeping my eye on that Porcupine because there is Combustion in hand just to proc the extra 2. Viper must be feeling the pressure now, though, because Frenetic's used 2 skulls, has a ton of, you've got to imagine, low to 0 cost cards in hand. Like, these are the moments where you think, am I just dead next turn?
Yeah, 4 cards still being held in hand with discounts currently, so you will think very high percentage chance that you're just going to die this turn. Currently, he is not. There is not the actual lifesteal needed to get the job done, I don't believe, unless that I-beam does it, but it's rare that an I-beam on its own does the job. He might just have enough with how many discounts he has. I confess I haven't counted it. So it would be 4, 6, 12, 24, I believe. So it's 25. He would need to be able to fit in the Warblades as well, which I don't think he can. Or does it fit in there as well because the I-beam costs 0? 1, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, I think he actually has it. It works, right?
Wait, what's the secret from Viper, though?
The secret is Oasis Ally. He's already tested spell stuff, I believe.
Right.
I believe all spell stuff has been dealt with.
Has he tested Barrier, right?
Oh, good point. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
If he needs the Warblades and he hasn't tested Barrier, then we might have to...
No, you're absolutely spot on, and yeah, I don't think you can reasonably call that a missed lethal either. Firstly, because he's getting lethal this turn. Secondly, I'm not sure if he had tested Ice Barrier. I think you're spot on, and then if he needed the weapon swing to get it done, he was right to go fishing. Just the 1 Fellscream Blast remaining in the deck, though, but picking it up just spelled immediate lethal there for Frenetic, and it's a very, very, it's another nicely navigated game of Demon Hunter for Frenetic, really covering his outs very cleanly, getting the job done and setting up again for a potential sweep with Demon Hunter on the horizon.
And again, I know I've said it, you're probably getting bored of me, but I'm just excited to see what happens next week because I don't think Demon Hunter can be ignored. Right? Like, I feel like it's been performing very, very well overall, and it's a deck a lot of players aren't really prepared for. I just want to live in the alternate universe where those totems weren't cleaned up and hilarity ensued.
And everyone
Yeah, I was half expecting them to, like, after the Totemic Reflection turn, obviously Frenetic passes back, and then they both just kill themselves at the end of the next turn. Like that would be the most Trick Totem thing to do over the course of 2 turns. The best possible spell, followed by the, okay, you've had enough fun now, let's deal with this. But yeah, I think on Frenetic's side, very, very nicely done. I had 1 or 2 questions, but Demon Hunter is the nature of that deck is that I'm always going to have questions about possible plays that you can make on any given turn, because there are just so many routes that you can have through most games. There are games where you just get handed the cards in the perfect order, and a bot could be programmed to play it and deal 72 damage at the end of it. But I don't think that was one of those games from Frenetic. Even though there was a lot of Skull of Gul'dan involved, he still had to navigate it nicely, and I think he did in the end.
And it looks like Viper's going for the brute force effect here with this Libram Paladin to go up against Frenetic's Demon Hunter. He had that or his Rogue, but of course, the Rogue is, I think, still an absolutely fine matchup, if not favoured, some people I've seen speak about. But for me, I think just, try and play on curve with big minions against Demon Hunter. That's probably your best bet.
Yeah, I think since Neophytes became standard, that matchup has changed a lot, because, just Neophytes to block Skull and to block Lethal are just incredibly crucial, right? If you can just delay the entire game by 1 turn, that's usually in your favor as the offensive deck. As weird as that sounds, that like buying extra turns is good against the combo deck, it usually actually is.
Right.
But yeah, I do generally like the idea of Libram Paladin here. I know it's been a deck that I was successful with early in the metagame when there was a little bit of OTK Demon Hunter even hanging around on ladder. Obviously, Libram Paladin was a more powerful deck back then because it's received several nerfs since that time, with First Day of School, Sword of the Fallen even being a deck card that was included in the deck back then. Very different build now with no secrets coming out from Viper, but still the ability to keep healthy, so you're forcing the Demon Hunter to do more than 24, which is a challenging thing for them to do. And then at the same time making big, chunky boards, which forces them to use Moargs and spell damage in order to keep those boards clear, which then increases how difficult it is for them to deal more than 24 damage with their eventual combo. So Paladin has a lot of tools to get this job done against Demon.
And also generally less susceptible, right, to Immolation Aura, which is like the backbreaker card versus Rogue, for example. And Paladin just normally has bigger minions than that, so it requires like Moarg or spell damage Immolation. So we'll see how it works out here for Viper. Of course, those double Libram of Judgment he has in his deck could just be that extra little boost he needs to finish up the game. But Frenetic does it right again with the skull opening on the left, no problem at all.
Yeah, and you play the studies on 1 because it doesn't matter that you are discovering an Outcast card and then locking it into the middle of your hand, because you're not playing that Outcast card. You're playing Skull. That's the first Outcast card that you're going to play in this entire game. So you might as well play the Illidari studies now and have the additional card 4th from the left as opposed to 5th or 6th or 7th from the left, right? Because then it's still closer to being Outcast again in the future.
Viper's got the ultimate counter to the Sigil of Flame with the Murlocs.
Oh, with the imprisoned, yeah.
May the light grant you peace.
You've been playing too much Maiev.
Why?
You said imprisoned and not like dormant.
It's called Imprisoned Sungill, Raven.
Oh, I thought you were just saying the dormant minions. Because isn't Maev's ability called Imprison?
I think it might be, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was...
Literally just the name of the card, Raven.
Well, I'm not used to you knowing names of cards. That's why I just assumed. And am I fair for saying that?
I mean, yeah, no. Entirely fair. No further questions, Your Honor.
Yeah, it's just true.
Yeah.
I smell blood.
A bit of a misplacement there, would you say?
I suppose, yeah. If we're going to be harsh, yeah, I guess Fellscream Blast is essentially Combustion, same deal, right? But I don't think it's as important to play around as Combustion would be. But yes, I think you are technically correct. The best kind of correct, as we all know.
Yeah, just like kind of unique.
Yes.
Here, though, most importantly for Viper, he is putting on a good amount of pressure. The Fellscream Blast was held for Frenetic. He didn't deem it worth just using on those 2 minions. But most importantly, these are the hits Viper wants. Aldor Truthseeker into Aldor Truthseeker into weapon, or switch those last two around if you really want. But regardless, he's just got a lot of hitting power right now. It's got to feel like a... Of course you skull, don't get me wrong, but it's got to feel like a slightly unfun skull turn, right? Because it's playing skull into potentially something that doesn't deal with this board to just get hit for a million next turn.
Yeah, and I think Viper recognized that dynamic as well. I mean, there was nothing that was going to stop him coin Truthseeker because, of course, you coin Truthseeker.
Yes.
That's just the play. But at the same time, he recognizes the dynamic of, well, my opponent played Illidari Studies on 1 and has done nothing since then. So what does that mean is going to happen on turn 5? Obviously, the skull's going to come down, right? So his ability to just pressure super hard there was very, very important.
And what do you like here? I think it's actually really close between Truthseeker and the Libram.
I agree. I think I would still play the second minion in this spot.
Okay.
It is asking... Obviously, I know, like, you can make the argument that if adding another minion to the board that doesn't have more health than your existing biggest minion is risky, right? Because you're kind of saying, well, if you're going to... You have to AoE this board for 6 to actually fully clear my board. But it's different because the weapon's equipped, right? So what Frenetic could do if you don't play another minion is small AoE plus finish off the minion with the weapon. Whereas by playing a second big minion, you're actually asking for a big AoE. Frenetic, though, certainly seems to be upset with the weapon coming down here.
Well, yeah, and the way I guess I was ordering it in my head is this board has to be cleared or you just win. If it is cleared, well, now you still have a good minion to follow up with, right? Is it just lethal?
It's just lethal.
What a waste of my breath. Yeah, you know, I'm with you on this one, Viper. I was trying to set up good points about your play, Viper, and Frenetic interrupted me with lethal. The old turn 6 lethal.
Yeah, so I almost didn't want to make that point. But as soon as the skull got cut, like, I almost didn't want to bang the drum again of, like, yet again Frenetic has hit 1-mana Il'gynoth off his skull, because he does just seem to be an absolute pro at doing it. But when you asked me the question of, like, it's really close between the Truthseeker and the weapon, and I paused, I was like, should I do the spoiler here or not? Because actually the second taunt was incredibly important. By having, you needed 2 taunts spread out so they couldn't both get hit by the Fell Screen Blast. So then the weapon wasn't able to go face at the end of the turn. But obviously, that's not something you realistically play around, right? That's just absolute nonsense. Trying to give you a fair response to that question is quite difficult in the moment.
It's like, and like I said, and like I was sort of with Viper on, where this actually gives him a loads more damage to push, and he gets, if the board's going to get cleaned up, he gets to drop another big minion, taunt in the way, right? Which is really good and makes perfect sense. But, you know, if you're going to make plays or expect to be killed on turn 6 against Demon Hunter, then those are some of those games you mentioned earlier, right, where sometimes Demon Hunter just gets it and they win, and that is a percentage of their win rate there. So sometimes it happens. Sometimes Il'gynoth is the bottom card in the deck, which we have also seen on stream this weekend. So it's just unfortunate. I do feel for Viper on that one, because I think the queue felt correct with the Paladin. The game felt like it was going fantastic, and then just like that, before I can even finish my good technical analysis point, just got thrown away.
He just got blasted. Yeah, that's the only real way that you can look at it. But at the same time, like, I do feel like OTK Demon Hunter, like, unfairly gets the rep of, like, well, when that happens, it's really stupid. Like, when decks have 2-mana Emperor Thorasans in them, when decks can play 2-mana, gain 20 mana on turn 2, when there's a class in the game that literally just doesn't let you play combo decks because you're not allowed to hold cards in your hand, combo decks have to be really freaking good to exist in that ecosystem, right? So the ability to OTK someone on turn 7 is almost a necessary extension of where the game is right now, as weird as that sounds.
You know what hurts me the most out of that statement, which you were completely correct. You were trying to, like, or not trying to, you did, like, half name a few classes right now. We're looking at Efficient Octobot twice on the screen, as you can see. Cantor's Flow, Elucia. And then you mentioned, well, the combo decks have to be strong so they can beat or overcome this some of the time. I'm with you. You know what hurts? Hunter did not involve itself in any of those conversations you were talking about, and that kills me, which is a real shame. But yes, that was Viper's rogue deck you saw on screen. We've seen this style of rogue a lot on stream this weekend, and just a lot in general is that miracle style there, and it's not a bad matchup against Demon Hunter. The big worry for Viper is not only does he have to take down Demon Hunter, but then he's got Hunter to go against, which I feel is, just as difficult a matchup as the Demon Hunter is, and then there's Mage as a worst case scenario. So Frenetic, of course, in a very, very strong position right now.
Yeah. And finally, before we move on, I'll hold my hands up to my own mistakes as well. He, of course, did not have a 1-mana Il'gynoth that turn. I don't know, like, my brain played tricks on itself that you have to have 1-mana Il'gynoth to kill your opponent on that turn, but he just had 0 mana everything else instead. So I stand by the fact that Il'gynoth has, Frenetic has hit a massive amount of 1-mana Il'gynoths throughout his game so far, but that game was not one of them. But ridiculous, it still was.
Here, though, diving into this one, Viper has a pretty reasonable opening. Nothing too quick right now, but honestly, just having Mankrik, a Shadow Step, and some playable stuff in the first few turns is kind of what you're looking for in Rogue, right?
It is, yeah. But he also has the opportunity to just go full aggro here if he really wanted to. Just like push out on board now with Coin, Foxy, Wand Thief. I do think the Ethereal Org Merchant kind of shuts that idea down a little bit, which is why I am a massive fan of playing this thing on 1, generally. I think it's a really, really good thing to do.
I was actually going to suggest this then as a response, right? You could actually just do this, get the Discover, because Foxy's kind of just always good in the deck, right? Like, you're never going to have many turns that feel bad for playing Foxy. It's got Glide written all over it. That's one thing we're missing from Frenetic. I'm waiting for the Glide into lethal from him. That's his next achievement to unlock.
True. Tempo fraud? Seems like it.
Care to make a wager, friend?
Give me that.
Wow, really? Just going to shadow himself for max power. Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. It's undeniably max tempo.
Max Tempo will be replaying it, right?
True. All right, yeah, you're right.
It's uniquely Max Tempo. Wait a minute.
I've just given you another tool to run into the ground now, haven't I?
Yeah.
What a horrible mistake this was.
If you're going to shout me for getting things wrong.
I didn't shout. I resent that.
You're going to point out when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate it, Sol, so I'm going to do it to you.
You're going to dare have the gall to point out my mistakes. You know what isn't a mistake, Raven?
Mankrik in the middle?
4 mana Skull of Gul'dan.
I mean, I just expect it. It's not even a surprise now. I think Frenetic's just good. Hyper's like, do I need lunacy in this series? Feels like it.
I don't know about you, but I get a weird, like, I don't know if Mandela effect is the right term for it, but when other studies stack, it still feels strange to me, because I feel like we spent a long time with nature studies being the only studies that we saw a lot of in the game, and obviously they eat each other's buffs when they come down. So when you get to go Illidari into 4 mana Skull, still with both discounts, it just still feels strange to me sometimes.
I think I've played enough Mage now that I'm on the other side.
That's fair.
It annoys me more the odd time I choose to play Druid that it doesn't stack. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, Shadow Step, okay. Is Viper at the point because of his resources so dry that he does just go for like trade Shadow Step Mankrik again?
Yeah, it's tough, right? He could also, I mean, the ring toss isn't even going to be corrupted, right? Otherwise, he could say he could look for like rigged fair game and just hope that's going to go off, but it seems unlikely.
I mean, he could have still done that, right, without the corrupt and just hope, but it is tough, isn't it? Instead, he's just going to go for hero power into the Octo, and I guess the point here is that Shadow Step, if Viper gets to a field contact soon, can make a much bigger impact on the game.
Is Frenetic not going to play the Dreadlord's Bite this turn? He's going to respect the Octobot instead and go with the I-Beam? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm down for it. Scary card for sure. Obviously, it's easy for me to say, looking at how poor the hand is for Viper, that you really don't have to care about that Octobot there, and you could have just gone with like Dreadlord's Bite into Spectral Sight and just felt fine about it. But yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, but if it was Jandis in hand, that would be a problem.
Yep. I guess that's specifically the card that he's scared of, right? Is that if he lets it go off there, Jandis coming down for 5 is actually a big deal. He does have the second Immolation Aura, which is clutch, though. It is probably one of the best cards in the matchup overall, and he hit both of them for 0 mana off his first skull, which he paid 4 for this game. So yeah, things have once again gone quite well for Frenetic so far in this game against Rogue.
So many options.
Oh, is Viper at that point yet where he's thinking about Shadow Step, or does he have to go slow again and Shadow Step Jandis, I guess, could be a plan for next turn?
Is this just every turn now, Raven? Can we get a Shadow Step Mankrik update, please? Is it good yet? Is it good this turn? Is it good
He's
next
not Shadow Stepping! We go to the Mankrik Shadow Step correspondent we have.
Yeah.
Gonna go for Oasis Ally. Really wants the fact that he can corrupt the ring toss next turn. Means that you can get more value out of it.
Interesting is just going to drop the Dreadlord's Bite. I was just vaguely considering the chance that Dreadlord's Bite had at being your third Immolation Aura, essentially, right? Because it deals with Jandis basically exactly the same way that Immolation Aura does if you're getting that 1 damage AoE off. Whether Frenetic specifically had that good read on Jandis, and there was an Octobot that he denied, and then there was a past turn, essentially, on turn 5 when Jandis would have been playable. Whether that was a good read you could get on Jandis or not that would cause you to hold on to the Dreadlord Bite for a turn. But it was a pretty icky-looking turn if you didn't go for the outcasted Spectral Sight, so I respect it.
And easy to say this far in the game, but Frenetic actually... It's paid off pretty well that he didn't reduce that hand down, because next turn's Jandis plus potential ring toss would have actually been insane.
True. So Frenetic willing to tank the 8 here. He has a large amount of this AoE set up with the Sigil of Flame on the following turn. It also strongly discourages Jandis from being replayed, because obviously the Flame will immediately clear up whichever minion you put the illusion on. You take Shenanigans? Oh, sorry. This is always the one dumb class thing that I still do. When I was talking about Rigged Fair Game, obviously you discovered Rogue Seeker.
Right. Yeah.
And not Mage. I still consistently get that wrong. And
Shenanigans is pretty sick, right? Against Demon Hunter?
Yep.
And weirdly, because of his secrets, does he not want to play Neophyte this turn? Kind of weird, right?
It is.
Choose soon.
I think specifically because the Neophyte just dies as well to the Sigil of Flame.
Yeah.
You probably want to hold on to it.
And also...
Sacrificing a 2-1 to save some health on his 4-5 instead, which probably does make some sense.
And he's clearly, like, past the point of stopping an on-curved skull, right? So... Was that just the best card to get bananaed?
Probably, yep. Obviously, there was one card in the deck very specifically that Viper would have loved to have hit there that just straight up ends the game. But outside of that, I think with the hand that Frenetic already has, there was nothing else, game-ending that he could have hit there outside of the Organoth.
I'll tell you now, it's solved, isn't it? People are scared of Demon Hunter. I've been asking for next week. You just put Shenanigans in your Rogue deck. 2 off. Well, there's Field Contact and some cards that will draw cards, so... Maybe a little bit too late, Soto, but Viper has got some resources cooking right now.
Yep. He does, but crucially, Frenetic has held on to this second Immolation Aura. I've been pointing this out on multiple occasions in our Discord chat during some of the other regions, where I feel like the fact that we're seeing Miracle Rogue have quite a high win rate against Demon Hunter is because people are being a little bit liberal with Immolation Aura, and we're seeing like both Immolation Auras get used and then Jandis comes down, right? And then there's no answer to the Jandis because you've used up all your AoE. Whereas Frenetic here, partially through finding that extra AoE with the Dreadlord's Bite, partially because he just hit double 0 mana Immolation Aura off his skull in the opening hand, but he has left himself in a position where he's just got a little bit of AoE in reserve against some of these boards that are going to come down now.
And depending on what this follow-up is, he might even be able to get away with a Fell Screen Blast instead.
Oh! Oh, I did not think about this, Raven. Your opponent discards a minion. Fell Soul Jailer. Boom.
Okay, so now Viper needs a Shadow Step, right?
Uh-huh.
Because if you
Gets a
don't
Shadow Step,
kill
he
it...
deletes that Moarg, essentially. But just... the relevant point being deleting the Moarg right now, this turn, is a big deal, right? Because this is a very key turn where your opponent would want to Moarg AoE to be able to clear up your board with that Immolation Aura, as you've just seen, with a Fell Screen Blast to be able to heal up, all of those great tools to be able to buff up with the Moarg.
Yep, you know what? Along with the shenanigans, put 2 of them in your rogue somehow. It's fine. Hook 'em in. We're building the perfect deck here.
That was a really smart play.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
I think that was Viper's second Shadow Step that he used to get the Fell Soul Jailer back in the first place, right? Because he stepped Jandis to get more minions.
Ah,
He
right,
stepped
yeah.
the Fell Soul
And he's
Jailer
used
to
10 Woo.
down again. And he's used 10 Woo, so yeah.
Can you get a silence
Out of
from
options.
somewhere?
Demons.
I hesitate to say no, because this
Can you get a
is weird.
Blackjack Stunner?
No.
Are you sure?
I think all of these questions is exactly what Frenetic's asking himself right now, right? Because he could technically kill it if he wanted to. It costs him a lot with like I-Beam, Fell Scream, right? But he could technically kill it and just get his Moarg right back.
Care to make a wager, friend?
Straza, 0 mana Swindle off the Foxy discount, and another Swindle. Oh my goodness, what a turn.
Rogue only needs 1 turn.
Yep. That's Immolation Aura in the Vanessa Van Cleef, I believe. No big deal.
Oh, cheeky Divine Shield there, protected at all costs. Can't let that Moarg break out of prison.
It's just become like a weird tower defense minigame, right?
Yeah.
This actual game of Hearthstone. It's just been protect this Moarg.
Oh, no!
So according to Sottle, this is the first time in Frenetic's life that he's ever drawn a 4-mana Il'gynoth.
Is this good? Hang on. Hang on. So it's 3, 6, 9, which costs him how much mana in total? 8. But then he can't cast the I-Beam because he can't get it into outcast position. He just doesn't have the mana.
Can he do it? Does it ever work without Draki? No, it doesn't. No. Wait,
I grow impatient.
does 4 with the Warblades? His I-Beam then becomes 1, right?
Does 4 with the Warblades. I mean, where are you putting the banana?
Time grows short.
If you play the banana, you've already spent 10 mana this turn, so it doesn't matter how much the I-Beam costs.
Wait, does he have to play the banana?
Plays the I-Beam, gets the Moarg back. Yeah, okay.
Oh, that was tricky.
It was. Can't say I saw it myself. I think even with the like I-Beam overriding by going back into outcast position and then costing 1, it still just doesn't even pay out because.
Well, I was thinking.
Like I said, if he goes Il'gynoth, Fell Scream, Banana, he's already spent 10 mana, so he can't do anything more than that. He still also then wants to have 1 mana ideally to be able to hero power alongside his Warblades as well, right? Which he can then potentially use to push 6. He was really, really close just because of the amount of chip damage he'd done with like Dreadlord's Bite and stuff early on. But I think most importantly here, outside of us trying to find weird ways to win that game, which I don't think exist, I think what we should do is just clap our hands at the play that Viper made because it was extremely creative and just identifiably game-winning at the end of it all there as well.
Yeah, 100%. You chuck a Moag into that turn, and that is just another win there for Frenetic, right? It's not even close at that point. So really game-winning play there for Viper, and he needed it to pull something out the bag and start fighting back in this series. It does mean that Frenetic still has his choice between Hunter and Mage to go for. Yep, I imagine this was going to be the case. He's going to lock in Hunter first. I feel like it is a better matchup for him than the Mage overall. And this is, again, that fairly standard Hunter list. I would say some players are going a slightly different route with that True Aim Crescent we saw yesterday from A-Rock. But yeah, he is just going to go Knife Vendor and the kind of usual suspects with the Arcane Shots as well.
Yeah, we saw it from A-Rock. We also saw it from Killin and Monsanto in the Americas region, but this is much more like the straight-up ladder list, right? Very, very straightforward, damage-focused, early game minions to win board, efficiency in the early game, and then damage in the mid-game, and then nothing in the late game, Raven, because there is no late game. It's not entirely true with this current build of Face Hunter. It does actually have some tools with Mankrik and Barracuda Bane and Quick Shots and so on to actually go quite late into the game. If it does find a very high resource draw, but generally your job as the Face Hunter is to be eliminating the game early.
Yeah, and some of these openings, obviously, of course, like mulligans are always important, but these openings can make or break this matchup, because if Rogue gets ahead, you struggle to catch up with Hunter, and then if they can like do the thing they do against weapon rogues where they can actually race you, but if you get ahead as the Hunter, it is very difficult for Rogue to come back. So look at the opening hands. Frenetic even keeping a Volpatinger here for his one drop just to go that little bit wider, especially with that Adorable Infestation too.
He also threw away Kolkar Pack Runner, even with Adorable Infestation in his hand, though, which I find kind of interesting.
Just no coin, right?
Yeah, no coin is... Okay, it came back immediately. No coin is obviously a big deal, but, you know, you do play so many one-mana spells in your hand, and I feel like even just Kolkar Adorable Infestation, just as a 1-2 punch, is just such an incredibly efficient play. Not as efficient as the play that Viper has just played, of course.
I think the fear factor is like, well, if you're waiting to turn 3 to like pop off as Hunter, then what if Rogue's just already overtaken you?
I'm not. I'm playing it on 2.
Playing Kolkar on 2?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant play it and then Adorable same turn.
Yeah, with the, so you could have full kept the hand, right, and just gone Warpatinger on 1, Kolkar on 2. I think the upside, obviously, is what Frenetic did was mulligan for Imprisoned Felmore, which is obviously nutty, and he did hit it. But I still think that's a very like you know, high percentile draw, like a good curve to be going with in the early game, right? If you just play Warpatinger into 2-3, and then if your 2-3 doesn't get answered, it can potentially just run away with the game.
And this is what you don't want to see as Hunter. Viper's just way ahead on board, and Frenetic's, again, just got nothing. This Felmore's going to have to do a lot of work this game.
Yeah. I think this is the other upside. This is why, for example, I do think it's a mandatory keep on coin, because if you're on coin, obviously the rogue has initiative, and if the rogue has initiative, they have the opportunity to do this a lot more often.
Right.
So that means that you might have to play catch up using your coin and a Kolkar Pack Runner. The dynamic's been reversed here because Frenetic was on the play, but he still had to play catch up a little bit. But you can see how powerful the card is at just, you know, bringing back lost board states.
So many options.
So we get to find out very quickly how much Viper respects this Kolkar. Gonna start Secret Passage. Makes sense. Spending the mana on like Neophyte or Swindle, or like proccing the Swindle, doesn't actually deal with the problem. So Viper looking for something a little bit spicier, and he gets it with Brain Freeze. Wow. Brain Freeze Neophyte this turn seems good to me. Oh, is he going to Tenwu replay instead? Okay, okay.
Looks like it, yeah. No, he's going to do the Raven play. Unbelievable scenes, Raven.
I told you it was good all along, didn't I?
Yeah. Going to take the Mankrik back in his hand and you lose the buff. Very interesting. Isn't it better to just trade with the Octobot and just replay the Mankrik? I think that might be what Viper is saying to himself right now with that little shake of the head, but that maybe didn't looks like nonsense to me.
Maybe he didn't want the Mankrik to get hit by the Felmore.
I mean,
maybe he likes Mankrik.
Don't you want anything but your face getting hit by the Fillmore? Isn't that the idea?
Yeah. Well, speaking of Manquick, though, Frenetic just got Manquick into Barak next turn, which is the way he can actually come back in this game.
Yes, for sure. He has achieved the OTK, as I was explaining yesterday, because this is just a ludicrous amount of stuff coming out on turn 5 here. Drops a 3-5, he drops a 3-7 alongside that. That 3-7 goes face. He also draws an additional card from the Arcane Shot, an additional card from the Quick Shot. The wife redraws and draws him another card, not to mention the fact that Quick Shot will eventually draw him another card as well. So a ludicrous amount of stuff just happened on turn 5 for Frenetic by nature of him just playing a single card in his deck.
It really is a thing of beauty, isn't it? I think in Hunter, the Enraged Manquick should still have 10 health. That's my suggestion for a buff.
Raven's just sat back like, yes.
I literally was full tilt in my chair, just enjoying the show at that point, because this is perfect. Like, look how good the follow-up is.
Just holding a snifter of brandy, rotating it, sat back in your wingback chair. Yes.
Really top-end Hunter play there.
Efficient is sufficient.
And now suddenly Viper's just struggling at this point, because yes, he can fight, he can beat down some of this board, but it's not just, as you mentioned, right? It's not just the insane stats you gain, it's the fact that Hunter has card draw. It's the ultimate power. He can actually do things similar to the level of other classes.
You're not wrong. All right, so damage needs to be counted at this point as to whether you have to pay any respect to the board. The answer is likely no at this point.
Yeah, the Wound Prey makes sense.
Already go in.
Yeah. I think that is just so easy, and it's 1 damage, still allows him to hero power this turn. He can push 8. Like, that Wound Prey is fine. I'll forgive the not going all full face. No, ignore, full face, ignore, who cares?
I actually like this trade a lot, I'm going to be honest. I'd love to just be on the just smash face meme, but honestly, look at your board. How does Rogue answer this board without cheating, right? Like, I just want to reduce the ability of the hand to cheat with the Octobot.
No one crosses the uncrowned.
Don't think that's going to be nearly enough.
He gets to kill off the Kolek.
Twice, kill off the Kolek, that's right. And there's 9 damage remaining.
16.
Yeah.
You can still do it. Another Quick Shot just for good luck. The reduction, the additional mana does not make a difference, because there is enough Arcane Shot hero power. And those are the games you want as Hunter with that Manquick Barak combo. And that means Subtle Frenetic is making it to the finals. And he seems pretty happy about it. And I think his team will too.
It just makes me irrationally angry. As an Arsenal fan, I have serious history against Barcelona. There was a period in our history where we were quite good at football, and it was only the fact that we just couldn't beat Barcelona in any given game that we didn't, have some European championships to our name. But yeah, sure. Football aside, happy to see, outside organisations getting involved in Hearthstone Esports. So I'm sure FC Barcelona will be very, very pleased with how their player is doing, Frenetic now. Especially, as I said, how basically off the back of 1 week's performance, he has adjusted completely from thinking about relegation to now thinking about potential playoffs with the last couple of performances that can come in the remaining weeks. So good on him, and he still has 1 more series now to potentially play out for the end of the day, where he can be a weekly champion here as well.
Yeah, and just obviously for Viper, I imagine a bit of a frustrating weekend overall, but I think he was in better spirits today, even with the loss there, which is good to see. And Viper, just another player that, yes, he's not made it to the finals, but he has been doing pretty